Bill John Baker is the principal chief of the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma, and he's our guest today. Chief, welcome.
Thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here.
For the benefit of folk who might not be familiar with the Cherokee Nation, how large a body is it?
We're at 340,000 citizens across the United States, the largest Native American tribe in the world.
And thriving.
And thriving.
Business-wise. Could you help folk understand, I mean, it wasn't always that way.
No.
I know rural water, for example, was a serious issue at one time, and back in the Mankiller administration, that was a push that she had to get water to rural members, and as far as I know, she did a pretty good job of it.
Yep.
Where are we now with taking care of folks in what I call the Oklahoma Outback?
Well, by comparison, when I was in college, the Cherokee Nation government did not exist. We reconstituted the nation under Bill Keeler with a $2 million land settlement and 2 employees to get started. Wilma Mankiller never had a budget over about $75 or $80 million. We just passed a budget at the Cherokee Nation of $934 million.
That's incredible. But there's been a lot of good business planning involved, hasn't there? I mean, I remember how the nurseries were launched, you know, many years ago.
We've got some of the finest business minds in the country working for the Cherokee Nation right now. They know what they're doing. We brought in Cherokees where we possibly could, others when not possible. We've got like 28 8A companies that are doing business all over the United States. We've got employees in every state of the union that are, and we're bringing as many of those jobs to northeastern Oklahoma as possible. But each one of those businesses is generating dollars for the Cherokee people and creating jobs for Cherokee citizens.
Are the people happy with the progress? I know in the beginning some of them didn't want to see a lot of change.
Haters are going to hate.
Yeah.
Some folks are never going to be happy. I think for the most part, the advances that we've made in job creation and better health care and our new housing program, all the hard hats that have been working all over the Cherokee Nation, building clinics, building housing, building casinos, building all of these things that have taken place in the last 4 or 5 years, I think they're happy.
When you first started to run for office, was that your first foray into politics?
No, absolutely not. I had served 12 years on the tribal council before that.
So you had a working knowledge of the nation's government before you ever...
I had been co-chair of executive finance and being the council person that lived in Tahlequah and had a business less than 2 miles from the complex, I got the opportunity to probably see more people that were needing help than any of the other council people, just because I was accessible.
I recall when you were running, one of the biggest issues had to be health care.
Healthcare is always and is always going to be important.
Where is it now on the chopping block?
Well, you know, in the last 4 years, we built a new clinic in Oshaleta, a new clinic in Jay, double the size of the Mankiller Clinic in Stillwell, and over double the size of the Redbird Smith Clinic in Salisaw. But to cap it off with, we have received a joint venture with the federal government through IHS to build a 475,000 square foot expansion at WW Hastings, which will create about 1,100 new jobs in the healthcare field for Cherokees to better care for our Cherokee citizens. And it'll bring in about an extra $89 million a year in permanent funding through the federal government, because we're putting our money where our mouth is to build this new expansion.
You know, I recall talking with an elder once, many years ago, the original Kituwa Society, who said, you know, one of the things we take pride in the nation is we don't beat the drum for the dollar. We take care of our own and we teach others to do the same. And that's stuck with me. It's one of those things you can't shake.
Well, and you know, when we get $89 million from the federal government, it is part of their treaty, the treaty that we have with them for health care. They had fallen so far behind in infrastructure dollars that we invest the infrastructure dollars now to get the health care that's been promised.
So it's working.
It's working. And
do you get to venture out much and again, I'll use the phrase, to the Oklahoma outback on nation land where folks are really just living out in the woods? Do you get a chance to visit with folks?
Quite
like
often. Quite often. You know, I have to travel almost every weekend, either out of state or what you're calling the outback.
The outback.
I call the outback home. I live at Briggs,
Yeah.
a traditional Cherokee community between the Barren Fork and the Illinois. And, some of my best times were spent in our rural communities in Chewy or Bell or other parts of the Cherokee Nation.
I spent quite a bit of time and still go from time to time to the Redbird grounds over not too far from Gore. And I've eaten, I know I always talk about food, but I've eaten some of the best food in my life out in those stomps. They're, you know, where they have the great big cast iron pots and
Yes.
stir them with old boat paddles. And folks who aren't from here don't understand the way of life that the various tribes live.
Yeah.
Trying to hold on to the old ways, at the same time accepting the new ways.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I'm good friends with most of the best cookers. They like to cook, I like to eat. It's a marriage made in heaven.
Well, you were telling me earlier about all the many vacations you've been able to take.
Oh yeah, right. You know, since I've been chief, I've yet to take a vacation, but I've yet to run out of thing to do either.
So I got you hopping.
Yeah.
Is there as much interest in expanding the gaming portion of the nation's business as I've heard?
You know, we're only going to expand where it makes sense. We've expanded in some markets that are not going to make a tremendous amount of money, but they've created 125 jobs in a county that needed 125 jobs. And it gives the opportunity for some folks into Kansas to come over and game in the Cherokee Nation that does create dollars for services.
What about education? What have
Yeah.
you seen in the way of change for education?
Well, obviously, higher education in the state of Oklahoma is under attack. Public education is being cut. The Cherokees have always believed in education. Northeastern State University, it started out as the female seminary of the Cherokees. So we've always believed in it. But we've got over 4,800 kids in college on scholarship through the Cherokee Nation right now. We help each and every one of the public schools in our side or jurisdiction with funding. Unfortunately, last year, that funding that we give them almost mirrored the funding that they were cut by the state of Oklahoma.
Oh.
And so it kept them from having to go back and dig deep into who had to go and what they had to drop. But those dollars that we gave them didn't really do what we wanted them to do to give them the opportunity to match federal grants, to give them the opportunity to save programs, give them the opportunity to create new programs for better education.
You know, it's intriguing to me that to watch the young ones come along in the tribe, because they practice what our legislature should be doing, and that's diversification. They're looking to major in this or in this or in this. I mean, they're really looking to the future. And it's clear that social media has played a role because now we have the inclusion of what was becoming a threatened language on social media, where you can pull it up on your cell phone, you can converse in in the language. That has to be a very strong point for those youngsters.
It is. And if you look at the Cherokee syllabary, it's not like you can just, print it out real quick or anything. I mean, the tails mean something, the dots on the end, they mean something, and so writing in Cherokee script is time consuming, but they can text as fast as a Spanish or English or French kid can.
They've got it down pat. We're going to take a break, come back. I've got a few more questions for you. We'll have more right after this.